We covered this initially when it happened. Let me remind you of the video of what went down.
Put your hands up, show me your hands.
That cop shot and killed a woman in her own home. He shot her through the window. Let's put up his picture and the picture of his victim. The former Texas officer responsible for the 2019 death of Atatiana Jefferson has now been found guilty of manslaughter. Aaron Dean is his name. The former Fort Worth, Texas officer was found guilty of manslaughter Thursday in the shooting death of 28-year-old Jefferson in her home. Officer Dean, who resigned days afterward and was arrested and charged in the killing, now faces up to 20 years in prison for the conviction. Let me give you details about the verdict. He had pleaded not guilty to murder, a charge which carried a possible sentence of 5 to 99 years. Jurors were instructed Wednesday to also consider the lesser included offense of manslaughter. The sentencing phase begins today. The verdict was announced after jurors deliberated for more than 13 hours. The manslaughter conviction of a police officer who was on duty is the first in their county, according to the station, the local affiliate, WFAA. The verdict comes more than 3 years after the deadly encounter in which Dean and his partner responded to Jefferson's house around 2:25 a.m., October 12th, 2019. They arrived at her house after a neighbor called the non-emergency police line. Why? Because she wanted a welfare check. She saw a door opened. She did not call 911, she called the non-emergency line. The defense countered that Dean fired his weapon, all right? That Dean fired his weapon in self-defense while fearing for his life. And what attorney said was a tragic accident, but not a criminal act. The prosecutors argued there was no evidence he saw a gun in the woman's hand before firing through a bedroom window. The prosecutor's first primary witness was this young man, Zion Carr, who was 8 years old and in the bedroom with his Aunt Tay when she was shot and killed in front of him. Now he's 11. And because this cop is a piece of you know what, it forced this young man to testify and to relive the most traumatic thing he will ever experience in his human existence. He testified that they had accidentally burned hamburgers earlier that night. So they opened the doors to air the smoke out. How many of us have done that? Probably every single one of us who are adults. He and his aunt were up late playing video games, right? Playing video games when Miss Jefferson heard a noise outside. And she then went to her purse to get her gun. He testified. He did not see her raise her firearm toward the window. Zion said he did not hear or see anything outside the window, but he saw his aunt fall to the ground and start crying. The other primary witness was Dean's own partner, Carol Darch, who testified she was with Dean when they investigated the home. Both officers believed the home was being burglarized because 2 doors were open, lights were on, cabinets wide open, and things were thrown about. She had her back to the window when Dean began to yell out commands for Jefferson to put her hands up, she testified. Darch said she started to turn around, heard a gunshot, then looked over Dean's shoulder and could see a face in the window with eyes as big as saucers. She did not see Jefferson holding a gun and did not recall Dean ever saying Jefferson had a gun. That is the reason I believe the cop should have been convicted of murder, not just manslaughter. But it is what it is. Obviously, protocol was violated, policy was violated, never announced himself, never made sure his presence was known on the property. None of that happened. Anything to just suggest that you are the police would have saved her life, and it would have stopped this child from having such a traumatic experience. Even when there's justice, there's injustice. He gets convicted of manslaughter when anyone else would have been convicted of flat out murder. Dan, thoughts here?
It's absolutely a tragedy. I mean, like, it's heart-wrenching to see this young kid testify, to see that his last memory of his aunt was they were playing video games together after, one of the most, average times where, you have a meal, you're gonna have a good meal, you accidentally mess it up, you air out the house, it's fine. Even though it was a non-emergency line, these cops reacted with force. And when you see in that video there, it was like a 1 or 2 second response between where the cops hold your hands up and a gunshot firing off. It seems like she had no chance to even respond or show herself to respond, which is a pattern you see very often in these encounters. So yet another case for why we shouldn't always have armed officers who are ready to shoot before asking questions respond to these situations.
That's right, well said.